How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. The big banks are lying to you. Some of the largest institutions in the world are lying directly to your face. I want to kind of shed some light on what's happening. You know, the price of Bitcoin has fallen down over the last couple of weeks. Even today, it's been falling down. But you can't lose sight of what's actually happening, right? While some people will be caught off guard when this happens in the future, you and I will know what's actually happening right now and what's going to happen in the future, why the price of Bitcoin is going to move up and why it's falling down right now. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this one as soon as I make them. There are also going to be links underneath the video in case you want to check out Margex. You can trade cryptocurrencies using leverage over there. You can get your long positions ready for the next bull move. Also, there is a link to CoinW as well in case you want to trade spot cryptocurrency, or you want to buy spot cryptocurrency, or you want to trade futures. There's a link to CoinW underneath the video as well. And they have a trading bonus. Both of these places have trading bonuses along with Blowfin. There's a link to Blowfin underneath the video as well. It's important to have multiple places set up, you know, just in case there's a lot of volatility and some exchange goes down. We've seen that with Coinbase and Binance several times. But let's get to what's happening. So the price of Bitcoin is falling down a little bit here today. I covered why that is in my last video. There's some selling and some liquidations happening. But what I think is really what we should be talking about here are the 13F filings. Now, what is a 13F filing? This is something that's required by the government to be reported when you have over $100 million or more in securities. So all large investors, large institutions have to file this. And it's due within 45 days of the end of the quarter, which is about 5 days from now. And we're getting more and more that are coming in. Now, what do they tell us? A lot of big banks are buying Bitcoin ETFs. PNC Bank has 10 million in Bitcoin ETF exposure across 6 ETFs per this SEC filing. This is the 8th largest bank in the country. Another one, Wells Fargo, has Bitcoin ETF exposure per SEC filings today, the 3rd largest bank in America. BlackRock filed their own 13F filing today, reporting a $5.5 million stake in IBIT. This is a pretty modest stake. For reference, the other Bitcoin ETF issuers have filed and are the number one holders of their products. ARK with 176 million in ARKB and VanEck with 85 million in HODL. So to be clear, these are the companies buying their own ETFs with their own balance sheet, right? So while BlackRock has 15 billion in AUM or something like that in their Bitcoin ETF, well, only 5.5 million is from the company itself. The rest is coming from outside investors. We also know JP Morgan is buying. I'll show you that. But remember when BlackRock named Jane Street and JP Morgan as authorized participants for the Bitcoin ETF? We thought that was a little bit weird, right? Because Jamie Dimon consistently comes out and says that he does not like Bitcoin. For example, he says here, I will personally never buy Bitcoin, and I do think that it's a risk if you are a buyer. When governments look at this stuff, why do they put up with it? He also repeated criticism that a lot of practical uses for cryptocurrency were illegal activity like fraud and terrorism. And yet, we just got this. America's largest bank, JP Morgan, discloses spot Bitcoin ETF holdings in a new SEC filing. And they actually talked about Ethereum too. They do not think that the Wells notice should pose an obstacle to the eventual approval of the SEC of the spot Ethereum ETFs, although perhaps it won't happen this month. So they even think that the Ethereum ETF is going to get approved. So the company thinks that Ethereum is going to be approved as a spot ETF. They hold Bitcoin, yet their CEO consistently speaks poorly about Bitcoin, saying that it's a fraud, that it will go to zero. Now, Altcoin Daily points out, what would Jamie Dimon do if he wanted to buy a lot of Bitcoin? He would go on CNBC and trash it. He would say it's going to zero. The price would dip and he would buy. That's not illegal. It's crazy, but they do this. The large institutions do this. So yes, at first, you know, we could kind of see that they thought this was a moneymaker, but then they came out and said that they wouldn't buy it, you know, that they don't want to touch it. I think he's even said that he doesn't even want to talk about it anymore. And yet they're buying it. They're allowing their clients to buy it. They think that the Ethereum approval is likely as well. And it is interesting because this is just the start. Like, people might say, well, this just means that there are a lot of banks that are already buying it and the price is still just $60,000. But keep in mind, they're just starting to buy. So PNC just started buying. For example, they have $10 million in Bitcoin exposure across 6 ETFs. So they've been buying 6 different ETFs, 6 different Bitcoin ETFs, and they have 10 million in exposure. PNC Bank, AUM. Let's take a look. They have 325 billion in AUM. This is still nothing compared to JP Morgan, compared to BlackRock, compared to Fidelity, but they have $10 million in exposure. Even for them, this is small. This is like 0.01% of their overall AUM, just coming off the top of my head with that. But like, this is very small for them. So they just started allowing this. Also, Wells Fargo has exposure. Yes, JP Morgan and BlackRock have exposure, but still, they have a very small amount. So BlackRock's worth $118 billion. Keep in mind that this isn't the cash that they have on hand. This is what their company is worth, right? But still, at $118 billion, to just have 5.5 million of your own ETF, it's not a lot, right? All of these companies are going to increase exposure over time. This is a marathon, not a sprint for them. They're not going out there and buying 10% of their cash into Bitcoin or into their own ETFs day one. No, they're going to continue to add over time. And a lot of these banks haven't really even started posting this or pushing it to their clients. Like Fidelity and BlackRock, I think, are a little bit more aggressive with it, right? But even them, like, I called Fidelity earlier this week about something else, and I asked, hey, have you guys started selling the Bitcoin ETFs to your clients yet? And he said, not really. We're, if someone brings it up, we'll talk to them about it, but we're not pushing it by any means, right? Like, the financial advisors aren't pushing it yet. So while a lot of people haven't even gotten approval, right, through their back departments, a lot of them haven't gotten approval from their company to start even allowing clients to buy it. The ones that have aren't really pushing it yet. Eventually, we will continue to have Bitcoin hit more and more accounts. More and more people will want to buy it. It will be included in more retirement accounts. Eventually, it'll be in target date funds, and then everyone will hold some Bitcoin, in my opinion. That is going to be extremely bullish, but this is like just beginning days. This is the first couple months of when most people could even get exposure to Bitcoin through traditional means. So this is the beginning. People are lying to you. Jamie Dimon's lying to you, but he's still making money on the back end. They're allowing clients to buy. They're making money from this. They're accumulating. They've done this with assets before where they talk about it and then go buy it on the back end. And they're doing this because then they can get more exposure to it, right? They can go start building a position. They can start talking to wealthy clients. That's what these large institutions do. BlackRock isn't going out there and talking to everyone with $1 million in their portfolio right now about buying Bitcoin. No, that's not how it goes. They're talking to the very wealthy people about adding positions. They're talking to institutions about building positions. They are going after the ultra wealthy, the people that have a lot of power, and then they'll kind of trickle down over time. So yes, Bitcoin will go up, but right now, it's just kind of a waiting game, right? People are building their big positions. Eventually, though, we will move up. And the longer we stay at these levels, I think the better for this bull market, honestly. Now, if we're here in a year and a half, okay, that's going to be a little bit concerning, right, for the price of Bitcoin. But if we're here for a couple months, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, because it's like a coil, right? More and more people build a position. There's more and more excitement. There's less and less Bitcoin to be able to be bought. The macro continues to get better as inflation comes down, and then we eventually spring up. And if we have these times of sideways action and pullbacks, we get out some of the weaker hands. Bitcoin goes into the stronger hands. It's less likely to crash at some point in the future. I mean, we're going to crash, but the crash will most likely be less aggressive. Let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Again, you can check out the links to Margex and to CoinW as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Have a great weekend and be safe out there.